The echo in the forest. The air was heavy with the promise of rain as Logan Morrow adjusted the solar panels on his off-grid cabin, perched on the edge of a dense forest. His life was simple, solitary by choice, a quiet rebellion against the noise of the city. But that evening, the silence shattered. A deep, resonant hum rippled through the trees, followed by a brilliant flash of light that lit up the night sky like a second sun. Logan froze, his heart pounding. The sound wasn't thunder, it was unnatural, vibrating through the ground beneath his boots. He grabbed his flashlight and a sturdy metal rod, instincts driving him toward the disturbance. As he ventured into the woods, the world seemed to hold its breath. Minutes later, he found the source. A sleek, metallic pod lay crumpled in the undergrowth, steam hissing from its surface. It looked like nothing he'd ever seen, gleaming with an iridescent sheen, its surface rippled like liquid when his flashlight beam hit it. Logan approached cautiously, the forest eerily silent except for the faint crackle of the pod. Then, the hatch hissed open. Logan stepped back, gripping the rod tightly. A figure emerged, stumbling and collapsing to its knees. It was humanoid but distinctly alien. Its skin shimmered with a pearlescent hue, like polished silver, and its eyes glowed faintly in the dark, emitting a soft golden light. The alien looked up at him, its gaze piercing yet desperate. Help, the word was barely audible, carried on a breath that sounded as fragile as broken glass. Logan hesitated. This wasn't the kind of help he'd signed up for when he chose isolation, but the pleading in those luminous eyes cut through his caution. He extended a hand. The alien's fingers trembled as they reached out, and Logan noticed they were thin and elongated, almost delicate. Its touch was cold, sending a shiver up his spine. "I've got you," Logan said, his voice steady despite the rapid beat of his heart. He pulled the creature to its feet, or what passed for feet, and supported its weight as they staggered back toward the cabin. Inside, Logan laid the alien gently on his worn-out couch, covering it with a thick blanket. The creature shivered, its body seemingly struggling to adapt to Earth's atmosphere. Logan knelt beside it, his mind racing. What do you do for an injured alien? Antibiotics? Water? He opted for water, pouring a glass and holding it to its lips. To his surprise, the alien sipped it cautiously, then let out a soft sigh that sounded almost relieved. Its golden eyes met his, and for a moment, Logan felt a connection, unspoken, but deeply profound. "What happened out there?" Logan asked, his voice softer now. The alien tilted its head, its expression a mix of exhaustion and wariness. After a pause, it spoke again, its voice melodic and fragmented. "Chased, escape, danger," it winced, gripping its side as if reliving the trauma. "Chased by who?" Logan pressed, but the alien only shook its head, its gaze darting to the window as though expecting something, or someone, to appear. Logan decided not to push further. "Rest," he said firmly. "We'll figure this out in the morning." The alien nodded weakly, its eyelids fluttering closed. Logan watched it for a moment longer, then stood and locked every door and window in the cabin. Whatever had driven this being to crash here, he had a gut feeling it wasn't far behind. As the rain finally began to fall, drumming softly against the roof, Logan sat by the window, staring out into the dark forest. He didn't know who, or what, he had just invited into his home. But something told him his quiet life was over. Little did he know, this encounter would mark the beginning of a journey that would test the limits of his courage, ingenuity, and trust, not just in others, but in himself. "You said." Shadows in the rain. The rain hammered relentlessly against the cabin roof, masking the faint hum of distant sounds that Logan couldn't quite place. He sat at the edge of his workbench, tools scattered around him, eyes flicking between the sleeping alien on his couch and the dark forest beyond the window. The faint glow from the creature's skin pulsed irregularly, as though mirroring a failing heartbeat. He couldn't sleep, not with the mystery lying just a few feet away and the nagging feeling that danger was closing in. Instead, he focused on a crude radio he had rigged years ago, trying to pick up any unusual signals. Static filled the room, occasionally interrupted by fragments of voices or faint beeps. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Then, a sharp knock broke through the white noise. Logan's head snapped up. His cabin was miles from the nearest neighbor, and visitors were unheard of this deep in the woods. Slowly, he reached for his rifle, stepping toward the door. "Who's there?" he called, his voice firm but not loud. No answer. The knock came again, more insistent this time. Logan's pulse quickened. He glanced back at the alien, who stirred slightly, its golden eyes opening just enough to meet his. The creature whispered a single word, danger. Logan's grip tightened on the rifle. He leaned toward the peephole but saw nothing, just the relentless curtain of rain. Slowly, he unlocked the door and cracked it open, keeping the rifle ready. The porch was empty. Only the rain greeted him, drumming against the wooden steps. But as Logan scanned the area, a flicker of movement in the shadows caught his eye, something too fast and too deliberate to be an animal. His gut twisted. He closed the door quickly, locking it and dragging a heavy table in front of it for good measure. Turning back to the alien, he asked, "Who's out there? Are they looking for you?" The alien struggled to sit up, its breathing labored. "Hunters," it whispered, voice strained. "They won't stop. Must leave, now." Logan frowned. "Leave? In this storm? You can barely stand. And where would we even go?" The alien shook its head, frustration mingling with fear in its luminous eyes. "Not safe. They track me." Logan's mind raced. He didn't fully understand what was happening, but the urgency in the alien's voice was impossible to ignore. He grabbed his flashlight and a bag of emergency supplies he always kept ready. "If we're going together. But you're going to need to tell me more." The alien hesitated, then nodded weakly. "I'll try." The rain soaked them instantly as Logan helped the alien out the back door and into the forest. Every step was a struggle for the creature, its movements sluggish and uneven. Logan tried to keep them both steady on the muddy terrain, his flashlight barely cutting through the downpour. "Where are we going?" Logan asked. The alien pointed toward the deeper part of the woods. "Signal. I can send. Call, for help." "A signal? You have a way to get out of here?" Logan pressed, his mind piecing together fragments of the alien story. It nodded faintly but didn't elaborate. Behind them, the sound of snapping branches and low, mechanical hums broke through the rain. Logan stopped, his heart racing. He scanned the woods but saw nothing. "We're not alone," he muttered. The alien tugged weakly at his arm. "Run." They moved faster, though Logan doubted the alien could keep this pace for long. The hums grew louder, closer, accompanied by flashes of red light cutting through the rain. Panic surged as Logan realized whoever, or whatever, was hunting the alien was closing in. Then he saw it, a sleek, humanoid figure stepping into view, its black armor glistening like oil in the rain. Its movements were precise, almost mechanical, and a crimson visor glowed faintly where its face should have been. Logan froze, gripping his rifle tighter. The figure raised its arm, a faint blue light building at the end of a cylindrical weapon. "Stay here," Logan whispered to the alien, pushing it behind a thick tree trunk. "Don't move." Logan stepped into the open, raising his rifle. He wasn't a soldier or a hero, but he knew his land, and he knew how to make a stand. He aimed at the figure's chest and fired. The shot rang out, echoing through the woods. The figure staggered but didn't fall. Instead, it turned toward Logan, the blue light on its weapon flaring brighter. Logan dove behind a tree just as a searing beam of energy sliced through the air, hitting the spot where he'd just been standing. "Great," Logan muttered, loading another round. "This is way above my pay grade." From behind the tree, Logan called out, "You want something? Come and get it." He grabbed a nearby rock and hurled it into the bushes, creating a diversion. The hunter turned toward the noise, giving Logan just enough time to flank it. He aimed carefully and fired again, this time hitting the weapon in the figure's hand. Sparks flew as the device short-circuited. The alien emerged from the tree line, holding a small, glowing sphere in its trembling hands. It pressed the sphere against its chest, and the faint glow spread across its body, as though it was recharging. "What's the plan, friend?" Logan shouted as the hunter advanced on them. The alien looked at him, its expression resolute. "Trust me." Logan didn't have time to argue. The alien raised its hands, and a sudden pulse of golden energy radiated outward, hitting the hunter and sending it flying into the trees. The glow dimmed again as the alien slumped forward, exhausted. Logan caught it before it hit the ground. "You're full of surprises, aren't you?" Before the alien could respond, another hum echoed in the distance, multiple hunters this time. Logan tightened his grip on the alien and whispered, "Let's hope that signal of yours works fast." And with that, they disappeared deeper into the forest, the rain hiding their tracks but not their fear. The signal and the storm. The rain had lessened by morning, though the forest remained cloaked in a heavy mist. Logan's legs ached as he carried the alien, who had told him their name was Era, through the dense underbrush. The faint hums of their pursuers had faded during the night, but Logan knew better than to think they were safe. "Where's this signal you mentioned?" Logan asked, setting Era down gently on a moss-covered rock to catch his breath. Era pointed weakly to the east, their golden eyes dim. "High ground, open sky. Need, energy." Logan looked up. The mist made it hard to tell where the forest ended and the sky began. "You're not exactly giving me GPS directions here," he muttered. Era didn't respond, their energy clearly spent. Logan shook his head and knelt beside them. "Look, I'm not leaving you behind. If we're doing this, you need to stay with me." Era met his gaze and nodded faintly. "I trust you." The words hit Logan harder than he expected. He wasn't used to being trusted, not after a life of self-imposed isolation. But there was no time to dwell on it. He slung Era's arm over his shoulder and kept moving. Hours later, the forest thinned, and the ground began to rise sharply. Logan's breath caught as they emerged onto a rocky ridge overlooking a small valley. The mist was thinner here, the sky visible through breaks in the clouds. Era perked up slightly, their gaze scanning the horizon. "This will work," they murmured. Reaching into the folds of their silver suit, Era pulled out a small, crystalline device. It glowed faintly as they turned it over in their hands. "What is that?" Logan asked, his curiosity piqued. "Beacon," Era said, their voice steadier now. "We'll send signal to my people, if it works." Logan frowned. "If? That's not exactly reassuring." Era gave a weak smile. "Your world, different. Signal might not cut through." Logan sighed, running a hand through his rain-soaked hair. "Well, no time like the present to test alien tech. What do you need?" Era gestured toward the highest point of the ridge, where a jagged outcrop of rock jutted into the open sky. "Up there. Needs clear line." Logan looked at the steep climb and gritted his teeth. "Figures." He helped Era to their feet and began the ascent, the rocks slick underfoot. Max, his loyal dog, padded close behind, occasionally glancing back toward the forest as if sensing they were still being followed. At the peak, Era knelt and placed the beacon on the ground. They pressed their palm to it, and the device began to hum softly, its glow intensifying. A thin beam of light shot upward, disappearing into the clouds. "It's working," Era whispered, their voice filled with relief. But the relief was short-lived. A deep, resonant hum echoed through the valley, followed by flashes of red light among the trees below. Logan's stomach sank. The hunters had found them. Time to go? Logan asked, his voice tense. Era shook their head. Beacon needs time. Cannot stop now. Logan cursed under his breath and scanned the area. The ridge offered no real cover, just jagged rocks and sparse patches of grass. He grabbed a large branch lying nearby and handed it to Era. Stay here. If they get too close, swing like your life depends on it. Era hesitated. What about you? I'm buying us time, Logan said, already heading back down the ridge. Max followed him, growling softly. Stay close, buddy, Logan whispered. We're gonna need every trick we've got. The first hunter appeared as Logan reached the base of the ridge. It moved with a fluid grace that was unnerving, its black armor gleaming in the faint light. Logan crouched behind a boulder, steadying his breath. He spotted a weak point near the back of its neck, where the armor plates didn't quite meet. Let's see how tough you are, Logan muttered, grabbing a jagged rock. He hurled it with all his strength, hitting the hunter square in the neck. Sparks flew as the figure staggered, emitting a harsh, mechanical screech. Max darted out, barking furiously, drawing the hunter's attention. Logan seized the moment, charging forward and slamming his rifle butt into the hunter's damaged neck. It collapsed in a heap, twitching as its systems shorted out. One down, Logan muttered, but the sound of more approaching hums cut his victory short. He glanced back at the ridge. The beacon's light had grown brighter, its hum louder, but Era was still exposed. Damn it, Logan hissed. We're running out of time. Two more hunters emerged, their crimson visors glowing ominously. Logan knew he couldn't take them head-on, not without something more than a rifle and a stubborn streak. He scanned the area and spotted a cluster of loose boulders perched precariously above the trail. Max, come. Logan called, retreating toward the rocks. The hunters followed, their movements unnervingly precise. Logan climbed the rocky slope, dislodging smaller stones as he went. When he reached the cluster, he shoved his shoulder against the largest boulder, straining with all his strength. Come on, you stubborn. With a final push, the boulder gave way, tumbling down the slope and taking several smaller rocks with it. The makeshift avalanche crashed into the hunters, burying them in a cascade of rubble. Logan didn't wait to see if they were down for good. He sprinted back up the ridge, Max close at his heels. When he reached the top, Era was still kneeling by the beacon, their glow stronger than before. It's almost ready, they said, their voice steadier. We don't have much time, Logan replied. I bought us a few minutes, but they'll send more. Era looked at him, their golden eyes soft but resolute. You risk too much for me. Logan shook his head. You don't get it. Helping you isn't a risk, it's a choice. And I don't leave people behind. The beacon emitted a sharp tone, and Era's expression shifted to one of hope. Signal sent. My people will come. Before Logan could reply, the forest below erupted with movement. Dozens of hunters emerged, their visors glowing brighter than ever. Logan's chest tightened. Let's hope your people are fast. Era stood, their glow intensifying as they extended their hands. I'll hold them off. What are you? Logan began, but Era's body erupted with a wave of golden energy, creating a barrier between them and the advancing hunters. Logan stepped back, shielding his eyes. You're full of surprises, Era. Era gave him a faint smile, their voice steady despite the strain. Hold on. Help is coming. The storm wasn't over, but for the first time, Logan felt a flicker of hope. The sky answers. The golden barrier radiated warmth as it pulsed around the ridge, casting long shadows over the forest below. Era stood in the center, their hands outstretched, glowing with an intensity Logan hadn't seen before. The hunters had reached the edge of the barrier, their sleek forms pacing like wolves circling prey. Their red visors flickered in unison, scanning for weaknesses. Logan crouched behind a rock, his rifle clutched tightly. "How long can you hold them off?" he shouted over the low hum of the barrier. Era's voice wavered as they replied, "Not long. They adapt. Signal must bring help soon." Logan glanced at the beacon, which continued to emit a steady beam of light into the stormy sky. He wasn't sure how far away Era's people were, or if they'd even come, but he couldn't let the hunters break through. He grabbed a handful of makeshift explosives he had improvised earlier, glass bottles filled with oil and shards of metal, ignitable with a simple strike. "If they get through, we're making it messy," Logan muttered to Max, who crouched loyally by his side, growling low at the encroaching hunters. The first crack in the barrier appeared minutes later, a thin fracture glowing bright white before it sizzled and dissolved. Era staggered, their glow dimming momentarily. The hunters took advantage, striking the barrier in unison with red energy beams that fizzled and popped against the golden surface. "They're breaking through," Logan shouted. Era gritted their teeth. "Not yet." With a deep breath, Era's glow intensified, and the barrier surged outward, pushing the hunters back. Logan watched in awe, but he could see the toll it was taking on Era. Their movements were slower, their breathing labored. "They're going to burn out," Logan muttered, the realization hitting him like a punch to the gut. "Damn it, we need reinforcements now." As if answering his plea, the sky above the ridge crackled with energy. A faint hum, different from the hunters, resonated through the air. Logan looked up to see the clouds parting, revealing a massive ship descending from the heavens. It was unlike anything he'd ever seen, sleek and organic, its surface shimmering like liquid metal, constantly shifting as if alive. Era's face lit up with relief. "They're here." The hunters reacted immediately, abandoning their assault on the barrier to aim their weapons skyward. Crimson beams shot into the sky, but the ship was already retaliating. Pulses of golden light rained down, striking the hunters with precision. Each pulse neutralized a target, disintegrating them into harmless wisps of energy. Logan stood, momentarily stunned. "That's some serious firepower." Era smiled faintly, their glow stabilizing. "They are my people. They don't abandon their own." The ship hovered above the ridge, and a hatch opened, revealing a ramp bathed in soft golden light. Two figures descended, tall, ethereal beings whose appearance was similar to Era's but even more refined. Their movements were graceful, almost floating as they approached. The taller of the two stopped in front of Era, their golden eyes scanning them with a mixture of relief and concern. "Era," they said, their voice melodic and soothing. "You've endured much." Era nodded weakly. "Logan helped me. Without him, I wouldn't have made it." The second figure turned to Logan, their gaze penetrating but not unkind. "You protected one of ours at great personal risk. For that, we owe you a debt." Logan, still gripping his rifle, gave a wary nod. "I wasn't about to let them die out here. But if you're here to take them home, I'm guessing this is goodbye." Era stepped forward, their glow soft but steady. "Logan, you showed me the strength of your people, your courage, your compassion. I owe my life to you." Before Logan could respond, the hunters made a final push. The remaining few charged the ridge, their visors blazing with desperation. The alien figures raised their hands, and golden energy surged forth, immobilizing the hunters in mid-air. They disintegrated into harmless particles moments later. Logan exhaled a breath he didn't realize he was holding. Well, that's one way to end a fight. The golden beings turned to Era. "We must leave. The longer we stay, the greater the risk to this world." Era hesitated, their gaze lingering on Logan. "I won't forget you," they said softly. "You showed me what it means to fight for something worth believing in." Logan gave a half smile. "Same to you. And if you ever come back, bring fewer hunters next time." Era laughed, a light, melodic sound that felt out of place amidst the chaos. They stepped onto the ramp, the golden light enveloping them as the ship prepared to leave. Logan watched as the craft ascended, disappearing into the clouds as quickly as it had arrived. The forest fell silent again, the storm clouds clearing to reveal a star-filled sky. Logan stood on the ridge, Max by his side, staring into the empty sky where the ship had vanished. For the first time in years, he felt something stirring within him, a sense of purpose, a connection to something far greater than himself. "Guess we're not as alone as we thought, huh, Max?" Logan said, scratching the dog behind the ears. Max barked softly, as if agreeing. As Logan made his way back down the ridge, he noticed something on the ground, a small, glowing device left behind by Era. He picked it up, the faint warmth of its energy pulsing in his hand. A message appeared on its surface, written in glowing script he somehow understood, "Call if you ever need us." Logan smiled. The stars above seemed just a little closer now. Echoes of the unknown. The glow of Era's parting gift pulsed faintly in Logan's hand as he stood on the ridge, the forest below finally silent. The small device felt worn, almost alive, like it held a fragment of the connection they'd shared. Max nudged his leg, reminder that the world hadn't stopped turning despite the whirlwind of the last few days. "Guess we've got a story, huh, buddy?" Logan muttered, pocketing the device. His words were meant to lighten the weight in his chest, but they fell flat. The quiet was unsettling now, too empty after the adrenaline-fueled chaos. The descent from the ridge was slower than expected. The forest felt different, not just because of the battle, but because of what it represented. For the first time, Logan realized just how small his world had been before Era crashed into it. The encounter had torn a hole in the fabric of his understanding, leaving behind questions too big to ignore. Back at the cabin, Logan sank into his battered armchair, Max curling up at his feet. The place felt lonelier than before, as if Era's presence had left a gap that couldn't be filled. Logan reached into his pocket, pulling out the glowing device again. The text shimmered faintly, "Call if you ever need us." Logan turned it over in his hands. There were no buttons, no obvious way to interact with it. Just its faint hum, a rhythm that matched the stillness of the room. "How does this thing even work?" he wondered aloud. Max perked up suddenly, his ears swiveling toward the window. Logan froze, listening. At first, he heard nothing, but then it came, a faint, rhythmic tapping. He grabbed his rifle, heart pounding as he approached the window. Peering out, he saw only the dense forest, its shadows stretching long under the moonlight. The tapping grew louder, but it wasn't coming from outside. It was behind him. Logan spun around, rifle raised, only to see the glowing device vibrating on the table. The light had intensified, its hum rising in pitch. A small hologram projected above it, displaying a map of the forest. "What the hell?" Logan muttered, leaning closer. The map zoomed in on a specific location, just a few miles from his cabin. A blinking marker pulsed there, accompanied by a faint tone like a heartbeat. Max barked softly, breaking Logan's concentration. "Yeah, I know, it's weird," Logan said. "But if this thing's trying to tell us something, I'm not ignoring it." The trek into the forest was quicker this time. Logan followed the holographic map, its faint light casting an eerie glow as it hovered above the device. The marker led him deeper than he'd ever gone, to an area he'd avoided for years, an old, abandoned mine shaft. The entrance was barely visible under the overgrowth, but the marker on the map pulsed brighter as Logan approached. "Great," he muttered. "Creepy mines. Just what I needed." Max growled softly, staying close to Logan's side. The air around the shaft was cooler, almost unnaturally so. Logan shone his flashlight into the darkness, revealing rusted beams and crumbling walls. The device's hum grew louder, urging him forward. Inside, the mine was deathly quiet. Logan's footsteps echoed off the damp walls, accompanied only by Max's soft panting. The map hologram shifted, indicating a path deeper into the shaft. As they moved, strange markings began to appear on the walls, symbols that glowed faintly, similar to the light of Aira's beacon. "What is this place?" Logan whispered. The answer came when they rounded a corner and entered a large, open chamber. In the center stood a massive structure, an obelisk of smooth, black stone, its surface etched with the same glowing symbols. The device in Logan's hand vibrated wildly, its light syncing with the obelisk's faint glow. Logan approached cautiously, the weight of the moment pressing down on him. The obelisk thrummed with a deep, resonant energy, a sound that seemed to resonate in his bones. As he neared it, the device in his hand projected another hologram, this time, a message in Aira's flowing script. "Legacy of the Forgotten. Protect it. Others will come." Logan frowned, his heart racing. "Others? What others?" he asked aloud, but the device offered no answer. The obelisk's glow intensified, and for a moment, Logan felt something reach out. It wasn't a voice, but an overwhelming sense of presence, like a memory imprinted on the fabric of reality. Images flashed in his mind, Aira's world, vibrant and thriving before the hunters came. A vision of the obelisk standing tall on their home planet, a relic of knowledge and power. And then, the invasion. The destruction. The desperate flight that brought Aira here. The vision ended as abruptly as it began, leaving Logan gasping for breath. He staggered back, Max barking in alarm. "Okay," he muttered, steadying himself. "Not just a rock." "Got it." Logan examined the obelisk, trying to make sense of it. The message was clear enough, this wasn't just some artifact. It was a connection to something much larger. But protecting it? That was a tall order for one man in an isolated cabin. Before he could think further, the ground trembled. A low, guttural hum filled the chamber, and the obelisk's glow shifted to red. The device in Logan's hand beeped frantically, its map hologram now showing multiple approaching signals, none of them friendly. "Max," Logan said, his voice tight. "We've got company." The hunters were back. The Guardians awaken. The air in the mine turned electric as the obelisk's red glow intensified, casting sharp shadows across the chamber walls. Logan tightened his grip on the glowing device in one hand and his rifle in the other. Max growled low, his ears pinned back, sensing the imminent danger. The faint hum of the obelisk shifted, rising into a pulse that matched the vibrations in the ground. The hunters were close. Logan scanned the chamber, searching for an exit or a defensible position. The obelisk loomed above him, its presence almost sentient, as if waiting for something, or someone, to act. Logan glanced at the device, now flashing erratically, and muttered, "You better have more than maps in there." As if responding to his words, the obelisk emitted a low tone, deep and resonant. The markings along its surface began to shift, rearranging themselves into new patterns. Logan stepped back instinctively as beams of light shot out from the obelisk, striking the walls of the chamber. Shapes emerged from the shadows, humanoid figures made of the same shimmering black stone, their forms sleek and imposing. Their eyes glowed with a faint golden light, similar to Aira's. "Guardians," Logan whispered, piecing together the meaning of Aira's message. These weren't just statues, they were protectors, left behind to defend the obelisk. But were they allies? The ground shook harder, and the first hunter appeared in the tunnel entrance, its red visor glowing ominously. It scanned the chamber, locking on to Logan instantly. Without hesitation, the hunter raised its weapon, the tip crackling with energy. Before Logan could react, one of the stone guardians moved with lightning speed, intercepting the blast with its arm. The energy dissipated harmlessly, and the guardian turned its glowing eyes toward the hunter. In a fluid motion, it lunged, its stone fists colliding with the hunter's sleek armor. Sparks flew as the hunter crumpled under the assault, its weapon clattering to the ground. Logan exhaled sharply. Okay, definitely allies. More hunters poured into the chamber, their movements precise and relentless. The remaining guardians came to life, their bodies shifting and glowing as they engaged the intruders. The battle was swift and brutal, stone against metal, ancient power clashing with advanced technology. Logan took cover behind a fallen beam, firing his rifle at any hunter that slipped past the guardians. Max stayed close, his growls turning to sharp barks as he spotted threats. One hunter broke through the line, charging directly at Logan. He fired, the shot glancing off its armor, and prepared for the worst. Suddenly, a guardian appeared, moving faster than Logan could track. It struck the hunter with a single, devastating blow, shattering its chest plate and leaving it motionless on the ground. The guardian turned to Logan, its glowing eyes meeting his briefly before it rejoined the fray. "Thanks," Logan muttered, his heart pounding. The chamber grew hotter, the air thick with the metallic tang of scorched circuits. Logan realized the hunters were adapting, their tactics becoming more coordinated. Despite their immense strength, the guardians were being pushed back. One fell, its stone body crumbling to the ground under a concentrated assault. Logan knew they couldn't hold out forever. He needed to do something, but what? The obelisk hummed louder, its light shifting from red to gold, as if urging him to act. Logan ran to it, placing the glowing device against its surface. "Come on, tell me what to do," he shouted. The obelisk responded. A surge of energy shot through the device and into Logan, filling his mind with a rush of information. Images, symbols, and memories not his own flooded his consciousness. He staggered back, gasping as the meaning became clear. The obelisk wasn't just a beacon, it was a key, a conduit for activating something far greater. And he was the one who had to use it. Logan steadied himself, his hand trembling as he reached for the obelisk again. This time, he placed his palm flat against its surface. The golden light enveloped him, and he felt the obelisk's energy coursing through his body. The remaining guardians stopped mid-battle, turning toward Logan as if awaiting his command. "Protect the obelisk," he said, his voice steady despite the chaos. "No matter what." The guardians moved in perfect unison, forming an impenetrable line around the obelisk. Their combined energy surged outward, creating a dome of golden light that pushed the hunters back. The few that remained tried to breach the barrier but were vaporized upon contact. Logan staggered, the energy draining him with every passing second. He could feel the obelisk's power stabilizing, its hum growing steadier, but he knew it wasn't over yet. The hunters wouldn't stop, they never did. Just as Logan felt his strength waning, a familiar sound filled the air, a low, melodic hum that resonated deep in his chest. He looked up to see a golden light breaking through the chamber's ceiling. Era's people had returned. A sleek ship descended into the chamber, its elegant design glowing with the same golden energy as the obelisk. Era's voice came through the device in Logan's pocket, "Hold on, Logan. We're here." The ship emitted a pulse of energy, neutralizing the remaining hunters in an instant. A hatch opened, and Era stepped out, their glow brighter and steadier than before. They ran to Logan, catching him as he collapsed to his knees. "You did it," Era said, their voice filled with awe. "You activated the obelisk." Logan managed a weak smile. Didn't exactly have a choice. Era helped him to his feet as their people began securing the chamber. The obelisk's glow dimmed slightly, its energy stabilizing now that the threat had passed. Era looked at Logan, their expression soft. "You've done more than I could ever have asked. The obelisk is safe, thanks to you." Logan nodded, too exhausted to reply. Max barked softly, nuzzling his leg. Logan chuckled, scratching the dog's ears. "Couldn't have done it without my backup." As Era's people worked to restore the obelisk's defenses, Logan realized something profound. His quiet life had been irreversibly changed. The universe was bigger, and far more dangerous, than he'd ever imagined. But for the first time, he felt like he was a part of something that truly mattered. Guess I'm not going back to fixing tractors anytime soon, Logan muttered, his grin widening. Era smiled. No, Logan. Your journey is just beginning. The first step beyond. The golden light of Era's people bathed the chamber as their advanced tools repaired and reinforced the obelisk. Logan sat on a flat rock near the edge of the room, Max resting at his feet, while Era crouched beside him. The air was heavy with quiet energy, a strange calm after the chaos. You saved this, Era said, their golden eyes fixed on Logan. The obelisk, my people, and me. Without you, none of this would have been possible. Logan chuckled softly, shaking his head. I didn't have a manual or a plan, Era. Just a lot of instinct and, honestly, a little luck. Era's smile was faint but sincere. Instinct is what we lack. You humans have a way of acting beyond logic, driven by something we can't fully understand. That's what makes you unique. Logan didn't know how to respond to that, so he settled for a tired shrug. Glad it worked out this time. As Era's people finalized their repairs, one of the taller beings approached. Their shimmering, metallic form radiated authority, and their voice resonated with a deep harmony. The obelisk is secure, thanks to you, Logan. It will remain protected for generations. Logan stood, Max following suit. So, what happens now? Do you just take off and leave this thing here? What's to stop the hunters from coming back? The figure tilted their head, a gesture that Logan assumed was a mix of respect and consideration. The obelisk will now serve its intended purpose, a beacon of knowledge and defense for those who seek to protect their worlds. The Guardians will remain active, and we will monitor it from afar. Logan folded his arms, glancing at the glowing structure. That's comforting, I guess. But what about Earth? You've seen what's out there. How do we prepare for whatever might come next? Era stepped forward, their expression serious. That's why we want you to come with us. Logan blinked, taken aback. Come with you? Where? To our homeworld, Era said. You've shown a rare strength, a willingness to act when others hesitate. We can teach you what we know, help you understand the universe. And in return, you can help prepare your world for the challenges ahead. Logan looked down at Max, who tilted his head as if to ask, are we really doing this? He hesitated. The offer was tempting, more than tempting. It was a chance to step beyond the boundaries of everything he knew, to explore worlds and truths he could only dream of. But the weight of his small cabin, his quiet life, and the simplicity of Earth tugged at him. I'm just a guy who fixes things, Era, he said finally. All of this, it's bigger than me. Era reached out, their glowing hand resting lightly on his shoulder. You're not just a mechanic, Logan. You're a protector. And the universe needs more people like you. The word struck deep, but Logan couldn't shake the feeling of leaving behind the life he'd built. He looked at the obelisk, its steady hum resonating in his chest, and then back at Era. If I do this, who's going to watch over this place? Era smiled. The Guardians will. And so will we. But you'll always have a place here, Logan. This isn't goodbye, it's a new beginning. Logan took a deep breath, his gaze shifting to the sky visible through the broken ceiling of the chamber. Stars twinkled faintly, distant and unchanging, yet now they felt closer than ever. He knew there was no going back to his old life, not completely. The question was whether he was ready to take the leap. Max barked softly, nudging Logan's leg. Logan grinned. Guess you're ready to see what's out there, huh? Era laughed, their voice light and musical. He'll be the first dog on our world. A pioneer. Logan smirked, then turned serious. Okay, he said, nodding. I'm in. But if this turns out to be one big mistake, you better have a way to bring me home. You'll always have a way back, Era promised. But I think you'll find more out there than you ever imagined. The ship's golden ramp descended again, and Logan stepped aboard, Max at his side. The interior glowed softly, a mixture of organic shapes and futuristic technology. As the ship began to rise, Logan looked out at the chamber below, the obelisk glowing steadily like a quiet sentinel. For the first time in years, Logan felt a surge of excitement, a spark of something he hadn't felt since he was young. Adventure, discovery, purpose. He didn't know what lay ahead, but for once, that uncertainty didn't feel like a burden. It felt like freedom. As the ship broke through Earth's atmosphere, Era stood beside him. "Welcome to the beginning, Logan." Logan smiled, his eyes fixed on the stars. "Yeah. Let's see what's out there."